Morning, hope everybody's well. Sorry, I've been a bit quiet recently. I've been writing this very exciting online course for people who have got a water phobia, who can't find some help near where they live because there's not a great deal of help out there. So I'm writing a course that people can download and use to help themselves. So if anyone in this group is interested, I will be looking for willing guinea pigs to have a look at it for me over the next few weeks. So just let me know if you're interested. Anyway, I've had quite a few questions from people about water confidence, about what's going on, about where to start, that kind of thing. So I just thought I'd spend a couple of minutes answering a few of those. So first of all, people have been asking, why have they got the fear when others haven't? And yeah, it's frustrating for people, I totally understand that. But when you start to look at it in a different way, it does actually make sense if you're not a swimmer to not be 100% comfortable in the water. If you think about it, as humans, we're not meant to be in water, we're meant to be on land. So as soon as we go into the water, our brain is on high alert for a threat. And the water itself is a threat, particularly if it's deep, particularly if you're not able to swim. You can understand that your brain does not want you to be in that water. So it will do everything it can to make you get out. So often that creates that tension and you feel in your chest, it creates that panicky feeling because your brain is saying, get out, this is not safe. Imagine, I don't know, I always use a tiger as an example, I'm not quite sure why, I'm sure there are other examples, but if you were going to stroke a tiger, your brain would stop you doing it because it knows that tiger might bite you and might eat you. So when you're thinking about the water and you're in the water and you feel those feelings of that fight or flight, that tension in your chest, your breath goes, your heart starts to race, that's your brain keeping you alive. So it's actually doing you a really big favour. Because imagine if that hadn't happened and you were in the water, you went out of your depth and you're not a swimmer. You see what I mean? It's kept you alive, it's kept you safe. So having a fear of the water is an absolutely natural, normal response to something that poses a threat to us. Okay, but we can learn to overcome that, but we have to retrain our brains to understand that the water actually isn't a threat in the way that it thinks it is. Obviously, we need a healthy respect for the water, but not a fear. Okay, and there's a big difference between those two things. But it's not that difficult to overcome that. Your brain just needs new evidence that it's okay. So next question, will I sink? The answer is probably not. Most people float. Very few people actually sink in water. If you think about the water, what does it hold up? Holds up a boat, holds up a great big cargo ship. Yeah, it will hold you up, of course, but you have to understand how it's going to hold you up and to allow it to do it. Yeah, often people fight and struggle and then it's going to struggle to hold you up. But if you go to the water thinking it's like the comfiest bed you've ever laid on, it will hold you up. And that takes a mind shift, it takes a change, and it also takes learning how to control your breathing, how to stay present, how not to let your mind race off into panic mode. But it's perfectly possible, step by step, perfectly possible, and actually probably far easier than you think. But have a look at the evidence. Our brains tell us stories, they're not necessarily true. Have a look at the evidence. Is there evidence that other people float perfectly well? So why would you not be able to float? Some people don't float horizontally, that's fine, doesn't matter. But the water, the properties of the water mean it will hold you up. You just have to allow your brain to realise that and to understand that and to believe that. Once you believe that, you're away, okay? Next question about breath. Really important in water, don't hold your breath, keep breathing. See, so many people go under the water or to swim and go, all that is doing, let me just do it again, tension. Yeah, you can see it, I can feel it, it's tension. It's going to create that little bit of panic that we don't need, yeah, because your brain is going, when's the next breath coming? Perfectly understandable that your brain will react like that because you're depriving it of air, and that's what your brain wants in water. It wants you to get to the air. That's what it's all about, because it doesn't want you to drown. Fair enough. Thanks, brain. So no, don't hold your breath in water, always breathe. And one of the steps that you would take in learning to overcome a fear is learning how to do that, okay? So just as a starter for you, take a good breath in. You're not going to run out of air when you swim, because when you swim, whatever stroke, you're going to breathe every 2 seconds maximum, often more, quicker than that. So you're not going to need a big lung full of air. You're not going to need to go like that. And when you're under the water, we don't want you to hold your breath either, because that is really stressful. So just think about taking a normal, good breath into your tummy. I know you breathe into your lungs, but imagine you're breathing into your tummy, and feel your tummy move as you breathe, and just focus on that breath. Learning to breathe is about focusing. Learning to be comfortable in the water is about breathing and focusing. Okay, so don't hold your breath in the water, just keep breathing. Somebody asked me, should I just go for it? Is it not better just to get it over with, get my head in, just do it? It's like, no, please don't do that. You can't push it in the water. You've got to take it a little bit at a time. If you go too far too soon, it won't work. It just doesn't work, because your brain will rebel. Yeah, and we kind of have to separate you and your brain here. So you want to do something, but your human survival brain doesn't want you to do it. So it's a bit of a battle. We need to bring that brain a little bit more into line so that you stay in control, not your human instinct. So if you just go and put your head in the water, you're going like this probably, your brain is going to hate that, and it's going to make you want to get out. But hopefully you can understand a little bit more about why it's doing that, so you can understand that that's not a good idea just to go for it. In a lot of things we're told to push our comfort zone, you know, get outside your comfort zone. In the water, we don't want you to do that, because that's where you start to panic. We want you to stay with whatever feels good, whatever feels enjoyable, and allow that to become more and more enjoyable before you move on to the next bit. Okay, that probably doesn't make sense if you've tried just to get your head in, but seriously, you know, just think about taking it slowly, a little tiny step at a time, all of which is massive progress, but you really cannot move forward too quickly with this stuff. You have to take it bit by bit. Doesn't mean to say it takes ages, it doesn't often. You can do this very quickly, but you can't skip bits, because your brain will let you know. You have to get your brain on your side to be totally comfortable with what you're doing. If it's not, it's going to want you out. Fair enough. Last question, where to start? Well, really, I've mentioned it already. It's starting really with finding a pool you're comfortable with, changing the way that you think, yeah? And, you know, ask me more about that if you'd like to know, because it's a bit too much for this video now, but just thinking about how you view what's going to happen when you get in the water. What do you believe will happen? We've already mentioned, if you believe you're going to sink, what experience are you probably going to have in the water? You're probably going to think you're going to sink, which means you probably will sink, because your body will react in that way. But if you take some time to think about that belief and think, well, actually, where's the evidence that I'm going to sink? You know, do other people sink? No. Does the water hold massive ships up? Yes. Have I then got a chance to be held up by the water? Of course. Then, you know, start to think of it like that. Tell yourself a different story, and then your thoughts, because we feel what we think, yeah? So our thoughts dictate our feelings. So if we think the water's going to be hideous, we're going to sink, it's going to go up our nose, all of those things, it's more likely to happen. But if you think, well, actually, I don't really know whether I'm going to float or not, that's curiosity, and that's a much better place to start. So start with changing your thinking. If you go to the pool, start with breathing. Just stand and breathe, hold on to the side, make it easy. Don't do anything too difficult. Just by going to the pool, getting in the water, standing and breathing, it's a massive step forwards, okay? It's all about being present, knowing what's happening in your body, not allowing your mind to race off telling you stories that aren't necessarily true. I hope that made some kind of sense. If you need any more, just give me a shout. And as I say, if anyone's interested in being a guinea pig for my course, then do let me know. I'd be really happy to hear from you. And as ever, any questions, just give me a shout. I'm always happy to help.